OpenAI just launched a $14 billion company. Their first move by a 3-year-old startup from Scotland. This isn't just an acquisition, it's a declaration of war on every consulting firm in the world. McKinsey, Accenture, Deloitte, OpenAI is coming for your business. So the startup that they acquired is called Tomoro, and it's crazy to even say this, they have 7 founders. So they have 7 co-founders within this one startup. And these 7 founders seen something that everyone seemed to have missed in 2023. While every startup was trying to build better AI models, they asked a different question. Who's actually going to implement these things? They founded Tomorrow in Scotland with a radical premise. The biggest gap in the AI economy wasn't building models. It was deploying them. And here's a really interesting part about this startup. They built the company in alliance with OpenAI since day one. They literally architected their entire business model to be an OpenAI partner, but more specifically an OpenAI deployment arm. And within 1 year, they quadrupled their team, grew revenue from more than 10x, opened offices in Australia and Singapore. And this has to be one of the most strategic startups I've seen this year. One of the goals of founders, in this case, 7 founders for this startup, is an exit. And what does an exit look like? An exit can either be an IPO, going into the public market where other people can invest, or an exit can be an acquisition where a bigger company decides to invest or acquire you and your entire team. The reason why Tomorrow was so strategic about how they built their product was that they built with the goal of being acquired, but specifically with being acquired by OpenAI. Since day one, like I mentioned, they built their entire application, their entire architecture to be dependent and reliant on OpenAI, because the vision, the mindset was as much as a integration that they can form with OpenAI, the easier and more likely an acquisition would happen in the future. And that's exactly what happened from 2023 to 2026, 3 years. That plan that they had in day 0 turned out to work. Now, Tomorrow just doesn't consult. They build and deploy autonomous AI agents into enterprise workflows at massive scale. We're talking mission critical systems where downtime is not an option. Their clients list, their customer base is actually kind of crazy. It looks like an entire Fortune 500 directory. They got Virgin Atlantic, the NBA, Tesco, Red Bull, Fidelity International, and one that's very interesting, they have a company called Supercell, the mobile gaming giant. And Supercell and Tomorrow, they worked with a launch, an in-game AI support agent that serves 110 million users. This is a 3-year-old startup. And this 3-year-old startup, within 12 weeks, their partnership with Supercell, where they deployed AI agents for 110 million users, was only done within 12 weeks. So by the time they got acquired, Tomorrow had 154 deployed engineers and AI deployment specialists, not consultants in the suits, but engineers who get their hands dirty building infrastructure. So let's talk about the numbers. The deal itself was not disclosed, but here's what we do know. This acquisition is the founding piece of OpenAI's new $14 billion deployment company, which launched with a $4 billion initial capital. And who are the backers of this $4 billion in initial capital? TPG, Goldman Sachs, Bain Capital, McKinsey, SoftBank, and 15 other investment companies and consultant giants. Now, while saying this, you would be extremely confused. Why would these consulting giants invest into OpenAI, who is offering a consulting business? Why would you invest into a company to become your competitors? And you heard that right. McKinsey, Bain are now funding their own competition. A lot of these consulting giants think this is more of a long-term win. They understand that AI is a very unique space, and if you want to be able to make that investment and have equity in an AI company that can help propel it, that might be better than trying to do it yourself. Now, in 2 to 3 years, Tomorrow went from founding to being acquired as the cornerstone of a $14 billion business unit. One of the things that OpenAI is been saying or doing a lot in the media is they have a lot of goals for this year all the way up to 2027. And most of these goals have a number on it. But this is the interesting part. The number is not yet 100% funded. So yes, there is a $14 billion business unit that OpenAI has began. But that $14 billion business unit only has $4 billion in initial capital, with the ideas of meeting these goals as the years and the months go by. Those goals being met will attract more capital to come into the business with a future budget of $14 billion. A good analogy of how that looks like or how that plays is, imagine you are telling your friends you're worth $1 million. But in order for you to be worth $1 million, you have to go to 10 of your friends and ask them for $100,000. And you go to friend A, ask for $100,000. Now your net worth is $100,000. You go to friend B and C, you collect $200,000. Now your net worth is worth $300,000. You get the drift. The only way your net worth in this analogy can increase is if you make the goal and you accomplish the goal of getting that money from your friends and family to be able to increase your net worth. It's kind of the same thing that's going with OpenAI, where they're saying, hey, we have a $14 billion business unit. We only have $4 billion in initial capital. If you go to A, B, and C and meet these goals, then we are more likely to get the future capital coming down the pipeline. So why now? Why is OpenAI making massive strategic pivot? They're not content with being just a model company anymore. Every Fortune 500 company deploying GPT-4, GPT-5, or whatever comes next could soon be doing it through this new unit. This is OpenAI saying, hey, we're not just selling you the AI, we're implementing it for you too. And they're going head to head with some of the biggest names in consulting. Because the truth is, the enterprise AI market is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And the real money isn't selling API access. It's in the implementation, the integration, the ongoing support of the AI. So this acquisition is basically OpenAI buying themselves into this market, this $100 billion market overnight, with a team that already knows what their model is inside and out. A team that had the plan of being acquired before they even went live. I think the timing for OpenAI is close to perfect because every enterprise on earth is trying to figure out AI deployment right now. Most are failing. So OpenAI just bought the solution. But what's next for Tomoro? Like I said, they have 7 co-founders. Tomoro has 7 co-founders, a 150-person team. They just went from running a fast-growing startup to leading a $14 billion business unit backed by the most powerful investors in the world. So yes, they are now the OpenAI employees, but not just employees, they're the architects of the OpenAI enterprise future. All right, that is it for today's video. This is OpenAI's acquisition of a startup called Tomoro, which is only 3 years old, which is crazy. Tomoro has 7 co-founders that since day one knew that their end goal was to be acquired by OpenAI. So they built their entire business with the inside and outside knowledge of what OpenAI has to offer with their APIs and their integrations. And because they had a plan since day 0 of being acquired by OpenAI, they created that partnership on day 1 to say, hey, in the future, if it's next year, if it's 2 years, but if it's what it seems to be now in 3 years, this acquisition was to come through, we want to make sure that it's going to be a smooth integration and that we're going to be the company that you guys would want to partner with or acquire. So Tomoro was a very strategic company. They had 7 co-founders that made the right decisions, got a great exit, I'm sure. They all probably became multimillionaires. And for OpenAI now allowed themselves to get into a new vertical of consulting. All right, folks, make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Add your comments down below. I know this is a different type of space that's happening with OpenAI going into the consulting space. Do you think it's a win for the employees? Do you think this is going to give the employees more leverage? Or do you think there's going to be one of the cases where they say, hey, we don't need 100,000 people doing this job if we have these AI agents doing it for them? Add your comments down below. Peace.